Today, Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com is reviewing the super parts for the Bandai DX VF31AX. If you need a 31AX toy, head to Big Bad Toy Store through my link in the comments below to grab the most recent reissue. If you want these super parts, you'll need to scour the secondary market because they were released in May 2022 only in Japan as a Tamashii website exclusive for the rather hefty price of 8,800 yen after tax. They'll come to you in a plain brown shipper box that conceals a retail quality box within. Open that up and you'll find 2 trays of parts and some instructions. The instructions are a plain black and white affair printed on pretty much standard paper. As you might expect, these parts are very similar to the VF31 parts that came out. Slight shade difference and more paint application on the AX version of the parts. You still have a nice little articulated nozzle at the bottom. And again, nice paint applications. Attachment, since it's the same part with different paint apps, exactly the same. Then we have the side of the leg armor. That's not the right piece. Here we go. Side of the leg armor. Again, paint application differences primarily here. There is one little bit of a difference, and that is this part has 2 teeth that come out, and this part has a solid peg. And I'll say, in my experience, the solid peg causes the firmer attachment of the part, but the idea is still the same. Slots in the side of the leg, slot, and then a little slot down there. And we just line that up, and you will not have a camera in your face. So that'll be very easy for you. And then we move to the front now of the leg armor. Here we go. Again, paint application differences being the primary difference here. And we just go ahead and attach that on there like so. And it'll be a firm enough attachment. Moving up the thigh, we have these armor pieces. There are a couple more paint applications on either side on the AX armor. Still just a couple of tabs on the inside, and those tabs can slide up and down the leg depending on which mode you're going to. Just get it on there, connect it firmly. Then you have this piece here, which is really, again, very similar. Essentially the same piece, actually less paint applications on the AX version. We don't have these little paint apps there. It's going to connect on top. This one needs a little wiggle jiggle before it gets on there firmly, I find. You should be able to get it on there really solid. Then we have the cod piece armor, just a paint difference there, a scheme difference, darker for the AX. That fits on like so. Going up to the forearm armors, a little smaller forearm armor for the AX, but otherwise very similar. And it mounts via the hard point here. And I found the AX version really mounts very firmly into position. You get an audible pop there. And then we move on up to the chest. Here's the 31AX. And the big difference here is just a little slot in the chest to accommodate that slightly different, I don't know what those things are on the sides of the chest, but that'll come up. Do not knock your toy over. Like so. And then these things kind of extend up and curve down. And there you go. And then you're ready to turn the toy around and put that giant booster on. One of the things I liked least about the VF31 Super Parts was this funky backpack connection. You pull this piece out, you bring this down, and then you kind of line it up with the back fin and clip it into position on the wing and push it down. And that's how you connect that. The 31AX parts are one huge in comparison. Look how just beefy giant that is. And they still have the articulated nozzles on the back and these little up downs. Nothing going on with these guys here. But so, I mean, it's all very cool, but it's also gigantic. But you could see a hard point connection there. And now there's a hard point in the wing that was not there previously on the 31 toys. And you're just gonna line this up and you're gonna push in with the might of 1,000 angry suns. And then that should go in your home. Go in your home. Some of the things I do are pretty difficult to shoot with a camera in front of my face, but if you're struggling like I just was, you just need to bring that peg over or the hard point over a little better, and then really it should line up and just peg right into place. There it goes, no problem that time. Now, one thing I did like about the AX parts in comparison to my VF31 parts, which you could see make both of these toys very back heavy, is on my 31J toy, there's some wiggle in that calf armor. Rock solid on my VF31AX toy, so that's a good improvement there. Also, both toys, a little bit of wobble on the front legs, so that not completely resolved there. But otherwise, when you get here, you're really gonna be struggling with how you keep the toy from flopping backwards. And obviously there's a lot of cool action poses that you can do that will help get you on your way. Given the inherent instability of putting those giant boosters on the back of this toy, I highly recommend grabbing a display stand, either the one that comes with the toy or one purchased separately when you're using the super parts in Batroid mode. The question is, how far apart should the boosters be? And the answer, I believe, according to the instructions, is wide enough apart that you could bring this back if you wanted to. So, I don't know, roughly there, I guess, would be about correct. And then if we spin the toy around here, you do still have the missile bays in the chest. So if I move this up, we can open up these missile bays, and that is exactly the same detail, zooming in, that we had on the 31J toy. So there you go. I guess all the VF31 super parts had those same missile bays. So there you go. That's your toy with the super parts on in Batroid mode. Let's play around with this a little bit. Bro, I've never been able to find super parts for my VF31J. Can I use the AX parts? Largely yes. You are going to run into some problems though. The legs, the crotch, and the connection for these forearm parts, all identical on the AX or the VF31J or VF31 toys. So you're going to have no problem using all those parts. The chest has a slightly different shape, although it will fit on from the AX toy to the 31J. So it'll fit. It's not quite as solid a connection, at least in Batroid mode, so you can use it there. And then what I've had to do is attach these boosters to the lower hard points on the wings. So sure, for Batroid mode, I can pull that off, but probably not gonna work in the other modes. We'll check it out and see how it does. You might be looking at the stand right now and thinking, hey, that does not come with the DX toys. This is the stand from GokenPlus.com, and subscribe and I'll have a full review of that coming up too. Let's see how the VF31J parts work on a VF31AX. So here's the AX toy with VF31J super parts if you wanted to go that route instead. And like I said before, same legs, same crotch, same forearm connections, everything's working just fine there. If you get to the chest, it does not have the slot that the AX chest needs. So again, this is on there and it's on there firm enough, but it's not really solid. And then I could not find any way to get these boosters to attach to the AX different wing shape. So that means you won't be able to use the boosters. I tried, it feels like it's so close to fitting on there, but it just wouldn't work and I wouldn't want to force it. So if you don't mind not having the big boosters, you can get pretty close. So is playing dress up for you? Here we have the naked 31AX. Here is the fully clothed 31AX. You can see it's a little bit beefier. I don't know, maybe it suits you, maybe it doesn't, but now you'll know what it looks like compared to the naked version. I just also wanted to show you, of course, this is not interfering with your knife gimmick. And blammo, we are in Gwalk mode. I haven't made a transformation guide yet, but do subscribe, one will be coming along eventually. In the meantime, if you have a 31, you're gonna be able to transform a 31AX. Okay, so once we get here, these boosters on the Hardpoints are also on swivels. So you can get that pointed straight ahead depending on how you're posing the Gwalk mode toy. Now, there are these, I'm gonna call them sensors. I don't know what these clear blue things are on the side of the head. In transformation for the 31AX Hayate, there is no need to fold these things open. So there's no need to remove the chest, which actually makes this perfect transformation. In the future, if there are 31AX super parts for a different version of the 31AX, where the head needs the clearance on either side, you may have to slide the chest piece off, transform the toy, and then slide it back on. But for now, that's not even a problem. So these are perfect transformation. As I did the transformation, the only piece that popped off on me was the front hip armor right there. And it was no big deal. Just clipped right back on. Everything was good. I just wanted to give you this comparison of the armor on versus not, so you can kind of get a feel for, do you even like the look of it like we did before? Otherwise, there isn't anything new or exciting happening other than those swivels in this mode. You do lift the missile pods upward because that gives you more clearance for the shoulder to move around. And that's about it. This thing handles just fine with the parts on. I'm not having a problem with anything falling off. So as long as you like the looks, you're not gonna have a problem with the implementation, and we can just keep moving on to fighter. And finally, we arrive at fighter mode. Now, there is the missile bays in the calves gimmick when you don't have super parts on. When you have this armor on, you're not gonna be able to utilize that. So that's the one gimmick that was over here that we can't use once we have the super parts on. Now in this mode, you probably get the best use out of all these articulated nozzles, which is great. Now these cab nozzles are also on a little pivot, and that helps when you're posing in Gwalk and Batroid modes. Now spinning the toy around, again, we have the missile bays, which you might also utilize while in this mode. The one thing I really did not like, and this kind of goes back to the VF31 toy that's underlying here. The legs are kind of goofy with super parts. You have to have sort of the beginning of the Gwalk notch down, and then the leg straightens out. Now feel free to leave me a comment if you're like, that's not how I do it differently, because the instructions you would think would be really clear about how the leg needs to be positioned, and they are not. Now you obviously do not need the fighter mode adapter once you pull it off the toy, so we'll remove that. But yeah, so you can see there, I've got the tab going into the armor parts in the back of the toy here. So everything is really solid. You can whoosh this thing around, you can pretend like it's doing crazy stuff. It is decent to handle. It's still the 31AX that's underlying here. Still a little awkward to handle in fighter mode because there's only a very small spot that you can hold it and there's a lot of weight in the back. But ignoring that, you can handle this. You could whoosh it around, and I went from Gwalk mode to fighter mode without taking any parts off again. Now, when you do it, don't follow my lead. I was doing an experiment. A lot easier if you pop these parts off and then pop them back on again. But if you're a real stickler for perfect transformation, you can find a way just like I did. And here we have the VF31 with the VF31AX, both adorning their own super parts right now. Just in case you want to determine which one you really like better. The big boosters at the cutoff there is the real statement difference between the two parts. And I certainly appreciate what they've done over here, how it kind of cuts off and then you have a big booster. It reminds me of sort of like late 90s, maybe early 90s, shoot 'em up video game type profile. And then what we could do here is we can take off this booster and we can pop off this. And if we wanted to, we can also pop off the armor underneath. And then we could utilize the hard point. Now, truth be told, that is a very, very tight fit. But if you wanted to do something like that, you could. It looks kind of like a pontoon though, so I don't think most people are gonna go down that road. I'm an idiot. There are outside hard points on the VF31J also, so you can absolutely hook up those boosters on the outside point. It's not the strongest connection and it's gravity's working against it the whole time, so they might pop off a little bit on you. Also, these wings are on hinges that don't really lock into place, so these might droop down on you. But even so, I think it still looks pretty cool and looks like that 90s shoot 'em up. I've gone ahead and put the AX style chest on here, so you can see that that does work. It's not as, doesn't connect as well as this piece does, but if you're just looking for the look, you could pull that off. Now, if you had AX parts on, I have kind of a mashup going on right now of AX and J parts. But if all you had were AX parts, obviously you wouldn't have those boosters on top. I just wanted to get that 4 booster look going. And again, I think it's pretty cool. The super parts are not going to impact your use of the landing gear. Earlier we were talking about the Siegfried parts versus the Kairos Plus parts. Here's the Siegfried part. Again, no slot for the canards. That really only matters when you get to fighter mode, but in fighter mode we have these much longer canards and this slot is going to slide right in, and there you can see the canard right there. So you could not use the Siegfried chest in fighter mode, just the crotch and leg armors there. And anytime I review an accessory, the immediate follow-up question is always, hey, can I put these accessories on the other toy that is the exact same mold but with different paint? And the answer is, of course, yes. If you don't mind mixing, say, magenta with blue, you can absolutely put these super parts on any other 31AX toy without any issues. One thing I didn't notice or didn't mention in Batroid mode, no, this is probably accurate, to be frank. The calf armor does come up a little bit higher than the missile bay that is in the back there. So you might have a little limited articulation with your knee bend, but as you can see, I'm still getting a plenty aggressive pose here and I am enjoying it. And overall, the parts attach to the toy firmly enough where I very much enjoyed handling the toy still. And that's really the big deal for me. Limiting that calf gimmick, that's a little bit of a bummer, but how often do you really use that gimmick? It's not a big deal. So overall, if you like the look of the parts, there's nothing here that tells me that you should stay away from them. I would say it's mostly an aesthetic choice. If you like them, go find them. Thanks for watching my review. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.